Danny, one of the things we talk about with our clients a lot and debate with them is how best to run an ABM program in terms of the geography. Is it best in country, in region, or should you think about doing it globally? And I know you've got a global program, been up and running now for more than 3 years, so I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on why global and what the kind of pros and cons of it is as you see things.
Well, you're right, Robert. The global aspect of it, when we chose to go global, we do have ABMers in country, so we have a whole team of ABMers in North America that do more of the one-to-one type account-based marketing, and that suits them because they're there to work directly with sales on events, on innovation days, and really service sales and the customer that way. From a global perspective, we've chose to go from not one-to-one, but one-to-few, where we look at a number of accounts in, let's say, one industry across the globe and in a number of different countries. And working with them, you look across all of the accounts and look for the synergies among those accounts to decide what the strategy is going to be, and then from there what the topic's going to be. So it's easier to do a one-to-few when you're going global than it would be a one-to-one. And the other thing we looked at was scalability. So when we do the one-to-few, since we're already covering 5 to 7 global international accounts, the thinking is that the things that we do for those companies that are synergistic across those companies can actually be used with other companies around the globe.
There seems to be also kind of trade-off between that scalability and that customizing. And different people kind of draw the line in different places.
Sure.
So where do you kind of draw that balance between those two things, making it scalable but also making it still ABM?
Right. Well, it all goes back to the insight that you gather around the accounts and the insight that you gather around the industry those accounts are in. So that's obviously one of the first things that we do is when we choose the accounts in an industry, we look at not only the accounts and what they're focused on from our sales viewpoint internally, but we also look at the accounts and their industry from an external viewpoint. And so that external view as well as the internal view come together to make a good ABM program. In fact, without that external and internal view meshing together, so without the research done externally and the sales input internally, so research insight and sales insight, those two together are what can make it really truly ABM.
That's interesting, because I think when people hear the idea of scalability, they often think of MarTech in the same bracket. And obviously with MarTech, you don't get that kind of layer of insight, do you, typically, as I understand it, from the tools?
That's absolutely true. With MarTech, you might get intent data, or you might get competitive data. Yeah. But you don't get the true insight into the individual account, which is where I think ABM really, that is ABM.
I agree, that's the core of what ABM is all about.
Yes. Yeah. And without that, you're not really doing account-based marketing. If you don't have a seller involved that works with the account, that looks at what you're doing, you don't have ABM. If you don't have insight into what that account is focused on, or where that seller is focused within the account, or where the industry is going for that account, you don't have ABM. It's all about the insight, and it's all about having the sellers involved.